My name is Margaret Davis. I am 58 years old, and until recently, I thought I had a firm grasp on what family meant. I live alone in a quiet town in Vermont, in a modest colonial home with a porch that sags slightly in the middle and roses that still bloom too late in the season. After my divorce from Gregory, my husband of nearly 4 decades, I chose peace over proximity. I let him have the grand house in Connecticut and moved back to the small town where I grew up. Gregory, of course, remarried within a year. His new wife, Chelsea, is 31. She works in real estate and always calls me Ms. Davis with a stiff smile. We share 3 children, Ethan, Chloe, and Hannah. Only Ethan still lives nearby, which is why it didn't surprise me when his name flashed across my phone screen the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. "Hey Mom," he said, his voice bright but rushed. "Just calling to confirm dinner tomorrow. Chloe's bringing her famous green bean casserole." "Of course," I said. "Everything's ready. Dinner at 4, same as always." "Great. Oh, and Dad was wondering if he could swing by a bit early. He said he has some documents he needs you to sign." I paused. My eyes drifted to the list I had on the fridge. Cranberry sauce, extra gravy, warm cider, no mention of documents. "What kind of documents?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "Something about the lakehouse," he said. "Some formality for the property developers. Just a quick signature." I nodded slowly, though he couldn't see it. The lakehouse. Of course. Gregory had insisted we keep it in both names after the divorce for tax purposes, he said. We had built 1,000 memories there. I had not been back in years. "Fine," I replied. "Tell him to come around 3. "Thanks, Mom. One more thing, Chloe might be bringing a guest. Just a heads up." "That's fine," I said. "There will be plenty of food." After we hung up, I stood still in my kitchen, the silence loud around me. I had hosted Thanksgiving for 30 years, but something told me this one would be different. At exactly 3 o'clock the next day, my doorbell rang. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened it to find Gregory standing there, perfectly polished as ever. His silver hair was combed back, his charcoal coat buttoned neatly, and his cologne, the kind Chelsea probably picked, hung in the air between us like a cloud. "Margaret," he said with that rehearsed smile, "you look well. Come in, Gregory." He stepped inside like he still owned the place, his eyes drifting over the living room as if to inventory what had changed. I led him to the small parlor where the fireplace was already lit. "Ethan said you have something you need me to sign," I said. Yes, just a quick thing really." He pulled an envelope from his leather satchel. "The developers need signatures from both co-owners of the lake house. Nothing serious." "Lake house?" I narrowed my eyes. "What exactly are they developing?" "A resort, condo, spa, golf course. It's quite a high-end project. Very profitable." "You're selling it?" Gregory hesitated. "Ethan didn't tell you?" "No," I said flatly. "Well, yes. We've been in talks for a few months now. It's a solid offer. The property's been sitting there unused for years." My hand clenched the armrest of the chair. Gregory and I had bought that lake house during the best years of our marriage. It was the one place untouched by the divorce, the place where the kids had learned to swim, where Hannah had told us she wanted to be a writer, where we had celebrated birthdays and survived long, rainy weekends with board games and too much cocoa. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "I assumed Ethan would, and besides, the documents are just a formality. You sign, I sign, and it's done. Simple." He smiled again. That smile had once charmed clients in closed deals. Now it only made my skin crawl. "How much are they offering?" He named a figure. It was more than I expected. Enough to fund retirement. Even split in half, it was significant. "And when were you going to tell me about my share?" Gregory's face tightened. "Well, technically, the initial purchase came from my premarital assets. My lawyer has the documentation." "That's not true, and you know it," I said. "We bought it 10 years into our marriage, with money we saved together." His voice lowered. "Margaret, please. Let's not make this more difficult than it needs to be." "No, Gregory. Let's not make it dishonest either." We sat in silence, the papers still unopened on the table between us, and for the first time in years, I no longer felt small in his presence. By 4 o'clock, the house was full. Ethan arrived with his wife Laura and their teenage son Max. Chloe came shortly after, dressed in a sleek gray blazer and introducing a young man named Devin, her business partner, apparently. Then, to my surprise, my oldest daughter, Hannah, stepped through the door. "Mom," she said quietly, hugging me with cautious arms, "I hope it's okay I showed up. Ethan told me last minute, and I thought it was time." "Of course," I said, holding her a little longer than necessary. "It's been too long." We gathered in the dining room, where I had laid out the good china and the linen napkins from my mother's collection. The roast turkey glistened, the candles flickered, and for a brief moment it almost felt like family again. Gregory sat at the head of the table, as he always used to. I took the other end, carving knife in hand. "Before we eat," he said, lifting his wine glass, "I'd like to offer a toast. To new beginnings and to family, whatever shape it takes." "To family," they echoed, glasses clinking. I forced a smile and began carving the turkey. Plates passed, small talk flowed, and then Ethan cleared his throat. "We have some news," he announced, reaching for Laura's hand. "I've accepted a new position at Dad's firm. We're moving to Zurich." "Zurich?" I asked, looking up. "It's a great opportunity," Ethan continued. "Better schools for Max, better everything. And the compensation includes a housing stipend and relocation bonus." "That's wonderful," I said slowly. "And how is this connected to the lakehouse?" Laura answered for him. "Part of the proceeds will be used to help us settle in. Renovate the home we'll be buying overseas." "Renovate?" I asked. "I haven't signed anything yet." Chloe leaned forward. "Mom, we also hoped some of the funds could support my startup. It's growing fast, and a little capital injection now could mean a lot." "I see," I said. "So you've already decided how to spend the money. My money." "It's not like that," Ethan said quickly. "We just assumed that I wouldn't need it, because I'm older, because I live alone." A silence fell over the table. I looked at each of them one by one. And suddenly the food on the table, the flowers, the effort, it all felt like a setup. I wasn't the host, I was the mark. The tension hung heavy in the air, thicker than the steam rising from the mashed potatoes. I set down the carving knife with care and folded my hands in my lap. "So let me understand," I said calmly. "You've all gathered here today, in my home, to celebrate a holiday I've hosted for 3 decades, and also to inform me that you're selling a property I still co-own, using the funds for your own plans and expecting me to quietly sign it all away." "Mom," Chloe said, her tone tired, "it's not about taking anything from you. It's about helping the family move forward. You don't even use the lake house." "That doesn't mean I want to sell it." Ethan stood, placing both hands on the table. His voice dropped, tense and sharp. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Dad offered you a clean way out. We're trying to include you, not fight you." "Include me?" I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "You decided everything without me. This isn't inclusion. It's ambush." Gregory leaned forward, his eyes cold. "Margaret, I suggest you think about the bigger picture. This is a matter of legacy, of planning for the next generation. Let's not let your emotions cloud what's best for everyone." I stood up, pushing my chair back slowly. "You mean what's best for you? For Ethan? For your image? You're not concerned about legacy, you're concerned about control." "Margaret," Ethan warned, "don't push this." "Or what?" I asked, staring him down. And then, it happened. So fast I didn't even register the movement until the heat bloomed across my face. Ethan's hand connected with my cheek in a sharp, open-handed slap that sent me stumbling into the serving cart behind me. The china platter crashed to the floor, shattered in 100 pieces. Gasps echoed. Laura covered her mouth. Chloe froze. Hannah stood in horror. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I straightened my back, touched my burning cheek, and looked Ethan in the eye. "Thank you," I said quietly. He blinked, stunned. "What?" "You just showed everyone exactly who you are, and more importantly, who I've been all these years." I reached for the leather folder I'd placed in the cabinet earlier that day, knowing this moment might come. A lifetime of being underestimated had finally come to an end, and I was ready. I placed the leather folder on the dining table with deliberate calm. My fingers trembled only slightly as I unfastened the clasp and pulled out the first document. "What is that?" Gregory asked, suspicion tightening his voice. "Proof," I said simply, "and protection." I slid a deed across the table to him. "The lake house, Gregory? 3 years ago you signed a set of documents your assistant brought you during that chaos at work. Remember the week your company was under audit?" He looked down, his eyes scanning the paper, his face darkened. "This is a forgery." "No," I replied. "It's perfectly legal. You signed it. In front of 2 witnesses. Your assistant at the time, Daniel, notarized it. The lake house has been solely in my name for 3 years." "That's not possible," he growled. "Check the county records if you'd like." Ethan had slumped back into his chair, his face pale, the red imprint of his slap still hot on my cheek. The rest of the table remained frozen. I wasn't finished. I reached into the folder and pulled out a second file, thicker, heavier. I laid it beside the deed. "This," I said, "is the forensic audit I commissioned 2 years ago. It tracks every dollar you siphoned into offshore accounts before our divorce. Every shell company, every falsified transfer. You've been laundering money, Gregory. And I have the proof." Gregory's face went gray. His hands curled into fists. "You wouldn't dare." "Wouldn't I?" I looked at Chloe, at Ethan, at Laura, at Hannah. "You all thought I was just the woman who kept the house clean, made the turkey, sent birthday cards. But I was watching, learning, and preparing. While your father built his empire, I built my own defense." "This is blackmail," Gregory hissed. "No," I said. "This is consequence." I turned to Ethan. "Do you know what your father said to me after you hit me?" "He told me I was unstable, hysterical, that committing me was the only solution." Chloe gasped. "You were going to have her institutionalized?" Gregory snapped. "That's enough." "No," I said, my voice sharp. "We are far from done. You all want something from me, my signature, my silence, my assets. But I want something too. Gregory, you have one chance to set things right. Return the money you stole during the divorce. Publicly acknowledge your misconduct, and stay away from me and this house. If not, these files go to the SEC, the IRS, and every journalist I can find, and I assure you they'll be very interested." For once, the room was truly silent. No one dared to breathe. I had their attention now. The next morning, I stepped into the law office of Joanne Reed, my college roommate turned attorney. Her office was quiet, elegant, high ceilings, built-in bookshelves, and a glass desk that reflected the morning light. She stood as I entered, her eyes immediately moving to the bruise on my cheek. "Good Lord, Margaret? Are you all right?" "I've been better," I said, managing a tight smile. "But I'm ready." We sat down, and she pulled out a folder from her desk drawer. Inside were the documents we had prepared weeks ago, the backup plan I had hoped I'd never need. "The Davis Legacy Trust," Joanne explained, "will now hold your home, the lake house, your retirement accounts, and any liquid assets you choose to transfer. The terms are ironclad. No one can contest it, not Gregory, not your children." I signed each page carefully, my signature steady. With every pen stroke, I felt a chain snapping, a weight loosening. "This means," I said, "that if they try to sue me for anything—" "They can't touch you," she confirmed. "The assets are no longer in your name. They are protected." I reached into my bag and handed her a flash drive. "What's this?" "Audio recording. From Chloe's partner. Proof that Gregory planned to have me committed using a complicit psychiatrist. It was all recorded in my home." Joanne's eyes narrowed. "That will come in handy if they try anything further." She tapped a few keys on her computer. "The restraining orders have been drafted as well. They'll be served tomorrow morning, along with a notice of your legal filings. We'll have law enforcement present in case anyone tries to force contact." "And the whistleblower package?" "Ready to send. The SEC, the State Bar Association, the Department of Justice. Just say the word." "Not yet," I said. "Let's give him a chance to choose. If he agrees to my terms, I won't need to go public." "But if he doesn't?" She nodded, understanding. "Then we go scorched earth." By noon, I had completed my legal deposition on video, my face bruised, but my voice unwavering. I told the truth not only about the slap but about the years of silence, the subtle dismissals, the financial abuse, the way I had become invisible, even to my own children. I left her office and drove to the small inn, just outside town where I had booked a room under my maiden name. I turned off my phone, locked the door, and sat in the quiet with a cup of tea. For the first time in decades, I had no fear, no guilt, only resolve. At 9 a.m. sharp the next morning, law enforcement arrived at Gregory's front gate with restraining orders in hand. My attorney texted me the moment it was done. The second team delivered the same documents to Ethan's home, along with copies of the trust filings and legal notices. The surprise on their faces, I was told, was something to behold. Gregory had expected me to be alone, vulnerable, off balance. Instead, he found himself outmaneuvered. I watched the snow fall gently outside the window of my in-room, sipping coffee and waiting for the storm to arrive. It didn't take long. My phone, which I had reactivated temporarily, lit up with call after call. Ethan, Chloe, Hannah? All three. Even Laura. Voicemails flooded and confused, panicked, some begging, some blaming. Gregory didn't call. Instead, I received a message from the chairman of his pharmaceutical company, Mr. John Wallace. He wanted to speak with me directly about concerning information I had recently shared. I returned his call at noon. Ms. Davis, he began, his tone taut. We've received a detailed packet of financial data alleging misconduct by Mr. Gregory Turner. Are these documents authentic? They are. And are you willing to testify to how you acquired them? I am. He hesitated. This will likely trigger a series of internal and federal investigations. That's your responsibility, not mine, I said. My responsibility was protecting myself. Within hours, news of Gregory's resignation broke across the financial press. Turner steps down amid allegations of financial misconduct. His image, once polished and powerful, was now a symbol of corruption and greed. Ethan called again that evening. I let it go to voicemail. Mom, please. I didn't know all of it. I never meant for it to go this far. Dad's unraveling. I don't even know what to believe anymore. I sat in silence, the phone glowing beside me. I didn't need to respond. Everything I needed to say had already been said, with documents, with proof, with action. The collapse had come, not with rage, not with fire, but with facts, law, and a mother who had finally drawn the line. 6 months later, I sat on the back deck of the lakehouse, watching the afternoon light ripple across the water. The air smelled of pine and freshly cut grass. This place, once just a retreat, had become my sanctuary. I sold the house in town and donated most of what was inside. The crystal, the rugs, the framed family photos, all gone. Not out of anger, but release. I kept what mattered. A few letters, a few books, and this home. Gregory's legal efforts to contest the trust had failed. The courts had upheld the filings, the witnesses, the audio recordings, and the video deposition. His attempt to have me declared mentally unfit backfired in court, especially after Amber, the brave young woman dating my grandson, testified. The judge didn't need long. The fallout for Gregory was swift. Federal investigations, lawsuits from shareholders, his name removed from company boards, a legacy undone by his own arrogance. Ethan wrote dozens of letters, some apologetic, some defensive. Chloe called twice, left tearful voicemails, then stopped trying. Hannah, who had once said almost nothing, sent a short card in the spring. I hope you're at peace, Mom. I understand now more than I ever did. But I didn't respond to any of them. Only Max, Ethan's son, remained in my life. He called me Grandma without hesitation. He and Amber visited once a month, bringing groceries, helping around the yard, and sitting with me on the dock, listening more than speaking. He saw what the others couldn't, or wouldn't. One afternoon, Max asked quietly, "Do you ever think about forgiving them?" I watched the breeze ripple across the lake where years ago I'd taught my children to swim, where we'd camped and laughed and watched fireworks crack open the sky. No, I said softly, some things aren't meant to be forgiven, not because of bitterness, but because healing sometimes means letting go of the people who hurt you. I turned to him and smiled. But I forgive myself for waiting so long, for believing I had to shrink to be loved. Now I live differently, not with revenge but with boundaries, with clarity, with peace. And I finally feel free.